You have to allow yourself to feel the emotions about what happened to you and how it was wrong, and feel the sadness and the anger and the fear and the disappointment in order for you to properly heal.
I'd rather keep it real with ya.
Hey everybody, it's me, Minu, back with another video. I really want to talk about mental health. And I know y'all like, she's talking about mental health a lot lately. It's what's going on. It's what's happening to me. I don't know what to tell you. So the mental health stuff I want to talk about is I've made a lot of progress. I have to give myself props. I've made a lot of progress over the past couple years in terms of my mental health. I feel like that's largely due to going no contact with my family because I'm not actively being triggered by them. I'm able to address some of the issues that I have stemming from them, especially when it comes to my parents. Yes, Sadie, you just did this. When it comes to my parents, and one of the things that's kind of been happening lately, two things has been happening lately that has caused me physical pain. Like my pelvic floor is starting to get upset again. And I'm noticing it because it doesn't just feel like period cramps, but two, I'm noticing that it is specifically on my right side, which my trauma-informed physical therapist told me the right side is where you hold trauma surrounding the people in your life. The left side is your identity. This is mirrored. The left side is your identity, and the right side is trauma surrounding the people. So I've always had issues on the right side, people who are traumatizing me. The left side, not so much. I mean, it would be closed off and I couldn't connect to it or feel it, but it wasn't like a lot of pain. The right side is where I would have a lot of pain. So I'm feeling that pain at this point, and my muscles are really, really tight, and I'm having difficulty even with the dilator. And it's too late for me to go back to the physical therapist because I have to schedule things a month in advance. And a month from now, well, I have to schedule it not just a month in advance, but I have to schedule at the beginning of the month for the next month. So the fact that we're already mid-June, I would not get anything for July. So I would not be able to see her, and I'm moving in July. So I'm never going to see her again. So this is something that I got to deal with on my own, well, with my therapist, but without a physical therapist. But basically the two things have been happening. One of the things that's happened is I have a coworker that I've gotten really close to. It's an older Black woman. And I started to open up about things. Now, I've always been open about my mental health. I've always been open about that. But I started to open up about the whys behind it. Like, because people see me, I'm realizing people who see me in a work setting, they see me as like very confident, very well spoken, very intelligent, and all of that stuff. And am I intelligent, well spoken? Yeah, sure. But confident? Me? That's what you're getting from this? Because that's not what I thought that I was giving. I'm glad it is giving, but I did not know that it was giving. You know what I mean? Because I have a lot of trauma and a lot of anxiety and a lot of insecurities that I'm actively working against. So the fact that, I come across that way was like, I mean, if you like it, I love it. You know what I mean? But so I've been more open with them about some of the things that I've been struggling with, and letting them know when certain things they say, because them being a boomer, they talked in a very harsh tone. Boomers always have to be super aggressive for no reason. They always got to be rude as fuck. It don't matter where they come from. They just rude for no reason. And like telling them about like how certain things they said affected me, because they would say something in a very harsh way, and I would let them know like, hey, this is how I feel. So I started talking about, like, I told them about something that I was anticipating happening. And I told them because they are also usually a very positive person who wants the best for me, wants to see me succeed, and is always bigging me up and telling me like how great I am and how intelligent and qualified I am, right? Um, and so the people like that, I let them know like, hey, I have this thing coming up and I'm nervous. But I'm telling you because I know that you're going to, give me that positive energy that I need. So I tell them about something that I did that I'm nervous about. And instead of their response being supportive, it was critical. It was harsh. And it was like, you should have never even said anything about this. You're going to lose this opportunity because you chose to do this, 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 this. You should have just kept your mouth closed and like all of that. And I didn't like the way they spoke to me. I did not like the way they said that, because then I said, well, now you're saying this. So now what I'm feeling as a result of what you just said is I'm a failure. I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. I'm a fuck up. And I'm never going to have anything good in life because I don't know how to shut the fuck up. And they were like, no, 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 that's not what I'm saying. Like, no, don't do that to yourself. And then they tried to come back. And I was like, it's too late. It's too late. You don't get to say that and then try to come back and be like, no, here's all the positive stuff. No, bitch, you should have led with the positive. You should have led with that. You don't lead with the positive with me, I'm going straight down. I'm literally going to spiral down. When if I open up to you about something that I'm having anxiety about and your first response is negative and harsh, I'm going to spiral. And so they were like, no, don't do that to yourself. Don't do that. You need to alter the way you think. You need to alter your perception. You have such a negative perception and da, da, da. And I'm like, listen, okay, I'm in therapy for a reason. I'm aware that I have a negativity bias when it comes to how I perceive uncertainty. I am actively working on it in therapy. And they're like, if you could just change, if you could just change, if you could just change, bitch, I fucking know. If I could legitimately get rid of my anxiety and my stress and lower my cortisol levels, and I could think positively about the uncertainties in life and plan out my future, you couldn't fucking stop me. I know, because I've done it before. But I can't do it all the time. I can't. I'm not someone who grew up with the type of environment where I could feel secure enough and that there will be a positive outcome in my life. I don't have that. And so then we get into the conversation of, why do you think like that? Why do you treat yourself this way? Why do I think like that? Why do I treat myself this way? Well, I guess it has something to do with my fucking parents. Don't you ever like those of you who have trauma? Tell me if you do this too, because when I look at people who have significant issues, like things that seem very deeply rooted, my immediate thought is, you and your parents don't have the best relationship. You and your parents don't have the best relationship. That's my immediate thought, because the parents are the root of everything. So if I meet somebody and they are insecure or they are shy, they don't know how to handle their emotions, they're quiet, they don't speak up when they feel slighted or disrespected, they feel like a burden. Whenever I see all of that, I'm immediately thinking, what did your parents say to you that made you feel that way? Maybe that's just me. I don't know. But the point is, so I'm like, it was my fucking parents, mostly my mom. And so we get into this conversation about basically me going through the process of, first of all, realizing that things that happened to me when I was growing up were traumatic and that they impacted me. Allowing myself to feel the emotions around that because it's messed up and I didn't allow myself to feel that in the past. And then working on, challenging those negative thought patterns that are there as a result of that. She was not trying to hear none of that. She's up here talking about some like, oh, you just gotta change your perception. It don't work. You can't just tell yourself it's different and it changes. That's not how it works. Boomers never understand this. And then they don't fully believe you about your parents because they're parents themselves and they don't feel like they ever did anything. So why would your parents ever do anything? So then I started giving examples and talking about how I'm no contact with my family, but specifically I'm no contact with my mom because there's a lot of stuff she did that I have to heal from. And, talking about like the family that I grew up in and how toxic and dysfunctional it was. And she has the nerve to tell me, I have empathy for your mother. I have empathy for your father. And I was like, okay, yeah, you can do that. But what does it mean? Well, because they must have had messed up childhoods themselves. I'm like, yeah, sure, they did. Of course. People don't just wake up one day and decide to be terrible. Like, yes, of course they had messed up childhoods. What's that have to do with me though? Like, I'm over here trying to heal from shit they did in my childhood. I don't care about their childhood. Like, I mean, I understand because me and my therapist talk about it. We do the whole go back and everything like that. But then she goes into this long tirade about how when her parents died, that's also a red flag for me. When I'm talking to people about the struggles that I have with my still alive parents and their parents are dead, I have to tread real lightly because I know that people whose parents are dead do not have a good reaction to people whose parents are alive, and they're choosing not to have a relationship with them. So I already had a red flag when she told me about that. When her parents died was when she started to realize that her childhood wasn't good. And then she went through a therapy program. She went to therapy, but temporarily. And in that therapy, she realized that she needed to stop thinking about them and what they did. And she needed to just focus on her and how she could change herself and her behavior. And it turns into this whole personal responsibility thing that boomers love to do. And she's looking at me as if I am just sitting here blaming my family, blaming my parents for all my problems and complaining about it and not doing anything to change myself. As if a bitch did not go to college, get her health right, get her mental health right, and then sitting up here and being consistently employed. But yes, all I do is sit around and complain about how my parents fucked me up. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I hate it when boomers do this. I hate it because you can tell they have such a bias against young people, especially young Black women. You can tell. And it's like they can't even acknowledge the fact that you are, like, they know that you're not what they're saying you are, but they can't let it go because they've told themselves for the last 20 years that young Black women are like this, and they can't let it go. Like, they cannot acknowledge the fact that I'm sitting up here showing out at my job, doing an amazing job. People talking about how great I am and how helpful I am and how intelligent I am. And then to sit there and make it seem like I'm somewhere sitting on food stamps and smoking weed and complaining about my parents and blaming them for why I don't have a 6-figure job. It kills me when they do that. And so I'm like, no, I am focusing on myself and what I can do to heal, but I also have to acknowledge the impact of what it is they did to me and how it affected me. And then she's doing all of this to me about how I need to take responsibility and I need to go to therapy and work on myself. I'm like, I am doing that because they love to say, as an adult, you should be doing all of these things. And I'm like, yeah, but my parents were also adults when I was a kid, and they're adults now. And they've chosen not to do better. They've chosen not to get better. And then she's like, well, this is where I fought you. Where do you fought me, boomer lady? This is where I fought you because you know that they had a messed up childhood, but you still have all these expectations of how they should have acted. And you're holding on to resentment for all of that. And you need to learn how to forgive. Once you forgive, you're going to be set free and all of this stuff. And I'm like, set free from what? Forgiveness didn't set me free. Therapy and no contact set me free. And so when she said that, I took extra offense. I was like, now you faulted me for the way these people treated me. Do you not understand? And I was so upset. And so we got off that call. And the next day, I woke up. I woke up mad. Uterus hurting on the right side. I woke up upset. I was texting my friend and I said, I need to confront them about the way they spoke to me because I really don't like it. Or as people like to say, I don't appreciate it. But I don't want to do it and be super emotional because if you get super emotional with boomers, they trample over your emotions. But I didn't really have any time. So what I ended up doing was I called them. I said, hey, I'm still thinking about our conversation yesterday. And they were like, I figured you would. And I was like, yeah, I need you to understand something because I know. And I'm about to be harsh with them because you was harsh with me. I'm gonna be harsh with you. You want to be real? I'm real. And I say what I mean and mean what I say. I'm about to give it right back to you, bitch. Cause I'm bold too. I'm blunt too. I'm direct too. I was being nice before out of respect because I know how y'all can't handle. Look at all this fur on my. I just realized this. Look at all this fur on my thing. I'm having a whole moment. I'm having a whole I'm having a whole moment right now. And then I just noticed how much fucking fur was on my mic. But I was like, I can give it back to you. So I'm like, I understand that society has a view of young black women that all we do, that we're entitled and we're lazy and we lack accountability and we're irresponsible and we just sit around and blame our parents for our failures in life and we don't actually try to make things better for ourselves. I get that that's the idea that people have about young black women. Let me explain to you. One, you want to have empathy with my parents? Let me tell you who my parents are. So I give some scenarios, right? I started telling them about some stuff. And I don't spare no expense. I throw some real messed up stuff out there. And I would say, listen, my mom did X. And she'll be like, oh, your mom didn't really care for y'all, did she? I was like, yeah, she didn't like us very much. She may have loved us, but she did not like us very much. And she's like, oh, and then I like talk about my dad. And what I did has I had to act like the adult in the relationship. Okay. I had to be the responsible one. I always had to be the bigger person when it came to both my parents. And so I'm talking about stuff my dad did. I'm talking about stuff my mom did. I'm giving it to her. I'm giving her gut punches. And then she wants to backtrack later on in our second conversation. No, no, no. I don't have empathy for abusers. No, I didn't say that. You didn't say that for real? Okay. We want to pretend you didn't say what you said, but it was yesterday. You think I don't remember? One thing about me, I remember what the fuck people said, especially if it was hurtful. And then I was like, you're talking about how you fought me and all of this stuff when I'm literally in the process. It took you until you were in your 50s to have this happen to you, to have this conversation with yourself. I'm in my 20s. I'm literally in the process of just realizing that some things were worse than I thought they were. So I'm going to need the space to feel the emotions that I feel about the things that happen. She's like, you feel how emotional you are about this right now? Yes, I do. I'm supposed to be. It's a normal reaction to what happened to me. I should be emotional. I should be angry. I'm not as angry as I should be. I should be angrier, you know, because that's a part of my healing. And her being like, well, you talk about, your parents playing the victim, but don't you think you're doing that yourself? Now you want to call me a victim? Now you want to do the victim blame game of, oh, you're acting like a victim? I am a victim, bitch. I am. I was victimized. Like, I ain't that too long. Like, I mean, I am. But like 10 years ago, I was a teenager. I was a teenager 10 years ago. Do you not understand? Like, for you, you was in your 50s when you started addressing the issues that you had growing up. I was a teenager 10 years ago. So yeah, if I want to be angry, if I want to be emotional when I talk about the ways that I was abused and terrorized and victimized, then I get to be emotional. And she wants to go on this tirade about how I'm constantly rehashing the stuff that made me upset as instead of moving forward. Yeah, I'm gonna rehash it. And I'm gonna talk about it. And I'm gonna keep talking about it till I no longer feel the need to talk about it because that's how you heal. That's literally what EMDR is. She don't know what EMDR is. I've done EMDR. EMDR is literally making me go to a horrible place and rehash that horrible situation over and over again until the time comes when I talk about it and I don't feel any emotion connected to it. I've literally done a EMDR successfully that way. Can I do it all the time with everything? No. But I've done it before. That's literally, you have to allow yourself to feel the emotions about what happened to you and how it was wrong, and feel the sadness and the anger and the fear and the disappointment in order for you to properly heal. I'm trying to explain this to this woman. You can't address what happened to you by pretending it didn't happen. You cannot heal without addressing what hurt you. All of this talk about, stop talking about what your parents did and start talking about what you're going to do to make yourself better. Why can't I do both? So we're going back and forth. And at this point, I've gotten really vulnerable. I got really raw, and her response was not making me feel any better. And so when she's telling me all this, then she tells me about how her struggles and how she forgave her parents and all stuff. And that's why I said, look, I feel like you're projecting on me. Because you've already said that you see me as a younger you, that I am where you were 15 years ago. I feel like you're projecting onto me. Yes, Jesus helped you. Yes, you forgiving your parents made you feel better. But that doesn't mean that is going to work for me healing wise. My healing can look different from your healing. And she's like, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying before you go around telling people what they need to do to heal, I ain't telling people what they need to do to heal because I ain't fully healed my damn self. I'm telling people, look, I'm in the process of healing. I'm on a healing journey. These are the things that are helping me on this healing journey that might help you. I'm not telling people that do this exact thing or else you will never heal. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing. And I told her, I said, I feel like you're projecting on me and that I'm not like, and I may be like you, but I'm not you. And what it takes for me to heal is different than what it took for you to heal. And I respect you, but I trust my therapist who's helped hundreds of people who are severely traumatized. I trust my therapist to take me where I need to go in order to get to where I need to be. I trust her to take me through this. When she says I need to cry, I'm going to cry. When she says I need to read a book, I'm going to read a book. When she says I need to draw something with crayons and talk about my family, I'm going to draw with crayons and talk about my family. Whatever it is, I've built a relationship with my therapist where I trust him. And there's been a couple times she's like, well, I'm going to say this and your therapist may not agree with me. If my therapist don't agree with you, ma'am, you ain't right. Because my therapist know me way better than you. She's known me longer than you do. So whatever you about to say, if you don't think my therapist agrees with it, then you wrong. You may be right for yourself, for your truth, for your reality, but you wrong for me because you're operating off of very limited information. My therapist has heard some stories. And so she's going on and on about sitting around blaming your parents for all your problems and not taking responsibility for how you can be better, how you can heal, all of that good stuff. And I said, I feel like you're using the word blame and it's really diminishing everything that I'm doing right now. So let me explain to you. I'm not sitting, if I wanted to sit around and blame my parents, I would have never moved out. I would be in my mama's house right now, sitting up on that couch, probably smoking a joint, telling her how terrible she is every single day. If I wanted to play the blame game, if I wanted to play the blame game, I would not have blocked my mother. I would be calling her every day. Anytime I felt an emotion, I'd be calling her to remind her that it's her fault, that I'm struggling with XYZ. If I want to sit around and play the blame game. But I go to therapy. I find out what it is that's the core of the issue. I acknowledge the impact that it had on me, give myself space to feel the feelings that I feel about that issue. And then I say, what do I need to do so I don't feel this way anymore? What do I need to do so this trigger doesn't trigger me anymore? And she's like, yeah. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what I've been doing. But you're judging me based on what you think about young Black women. Now, I already know you like me and you think that I'm like all of these great things. But when it comes to this, you're being really, and she's like, harsh, right? I'm like, I was going to say abrasive, but yes, you're being really harsh in the way you're speaking to me about this. She's like, well, this is how I gotta be because the people always want to try you and do this and do this. And I'm like, but I'm not doing that to you. You be harsh with the people who are being cruel and treating you poorly. Don't be harsh with the people who are kind and support you. This is just how I have to be. This is just how I am. Okay, fine. That's how you are. So we get to talking more. And she starts talking about her daughters because here's another thing with older women is they look at me and they see their daughters or their granddaughters depending on how old they are. And that's part of the reason why they infantilize me or infantilize me. I don't know which word it is. And she's talking about her daughters and how they're always complaining about the way she treated them when they were a kid. And they don't want to do anything about it. They don't want to go to therapy. They just want to call her and complain and be mad at her about the stuff that she did. And she already apologized for it, but they still mad. And she didn't even really do nothing to them, but they mad and they're telling everybody about what she did and like making people angry at her. And I'm like, so you apologize to them, but you didn't do none of them? She was like, well, with one, I did do some stuff, but with the other one, I didn't. I ain't do nothing to her. She just letting her sister make her mad at me for no reason. I'm like, okay. So on one hand, you ain't even do nothing. My favorite childhood cop out. You ever hear little kids when they get in trouble be like, I ain't even do nothing. This is exactly what this is. I'm just listening. So like as I'm listening to her, I'm starting to feel better, right? I was feeling very emotionally raw. I'm starting to feel better because I'm starting to see through what she's saying. I'm starting to see where she's coming from here. And she's like, I apologize, but they still want me. I was like, okay, pause. They don't owe you forgiveness just because you apologized. And then she's like, but they don't have to keep reminding me over. I was like, if they're still upset, they're still upset. They don't have to forgive you just because you apologize. They don't have to forgive you. And she's like, well, they want to call me and they want to rehash the same old stuff about when they were kids and da 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 da, and I don't want to hear it. I'm like, okay, so your children are trying to talk to you about what you did that hurt them, and you're shutting them down and you're silencing them. Okay. And I'm starting to see a pattern. Like, she's starting to use the same words about them that she was using about me, right? The blaming, the rehashing, the playing the victim, she asked me, like, would you ever forgive your mom? I'm like, nigga, why are you asking me about forgiveness right now? I'm still healing. Ask me about forgiveness when I've healed. I don't got time to forgive right now, bitch. I'm just realizing there was stuff to forgive. Don't ask me about forgiveness right now. Ask me about where I am in my healing journey and how I feel. I don't want to hear this whole, if you forgive, you'll suddenly not feel you suddenly won't be upset anymore. I don't want to hear that. Okay. And I'm gonna get on forgiveness in a minute. But I'm looking at this and I'm like, so you're mad that your daughters didn't forgive you just because you apologized? Because it sounds like you may have apologized, but you're still being the same person that you were before. And you know what's hard? It's hard to forgive someone who continues to act the same way, because it shows that the apology they gave you was not sincere. Because if it was sincere, they would have changed their behavior.